There
Hey
he
Greg,
is. Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you. There was a glitch in the system as it happened often, and I thought the invite updated, and I was literally sitting there, go, do I send you a new link, or do I just see if you get on? So
Well, it's uploading something.
I think it's just it's doing the buffering and things like that. I can see you clearly. Hopefully, you can see
Oh,
me and
good.
hear me clearly.
Yep.
Yeah. And we're recording right now, but once we get this done, we'll edit the pieces out that
Oh,
that
good.
that get going. I just wanted to introduce myself first of all. First of all, appreciate you taking time. I think if I saw correctly, you're out of New York, so it's a little later in the day for you.
Yep. All good. Where are you based?
I am in San Clemente, Southern California.
Nice.
So we're having a heat wave today that's 77 degrees or something crazy.
Beautiful.
So, so appreciate your time. Like I said, I'm launching a startup, and what I was looking to do is for the B2B and SaaS space, and just trying to get like-minded people to come together, share their opinions, share their thoughts, talk about their experience, just have a conversation, and then once we're done with this all, we'll chunk it up, and then you guys can leverage it for marketing or whatever you want to do. It's the tools that we have can create LinkedIn posts, so on and so forth. So that's just the gist of it. Be super casual,
And
asking about you.
what's your audience like?
So we're literally starting out. You're my second guest, and I appreciate that. So we're pushing it out there to we'll be using LinkedIn and different things like that. We work with the growth partnership group that's sharing this out. So new and exciting times for all of us.
Excellent.
So like I said, it's super relaxed. Looking for just opinions, a little bit about you, about your business, what you guys are problems you're trying to solve, and uh, we'll just chat and see where it takes us. So hopefully that works for you.
Yep. Absolutely. So fire away.
So here we go. Let's say we'll start the podcast now, and this as well start the editing. But I saw that you guys were a, an evolution of Bain. But kind of tell me a little bit about your experience in the market, what's driven you towards that, your personal experience, and where you guys are at right now.
So first about a little bit about me. My name is Evan Sohn. And I've always been on the business side of technology for my career, having been involved in a number of different startups. At Bain, I was brought in really to help grow uh, um, a company they were incubating internally at Bain called Aura, AURA, Aura Intelligence. Aura is really around workforce dynamics and workforce insights. So, what do I mean by that? There are things that are happening inside of companies every day that affect business decisions for those that are watching those companies. The obvious being, an investor. Things are happening inside of companies that would affect an overall investment. And in a world that's constantly changing, the notion of having the same workforce, in one decade as in another decade, is really past, right? So things are always happening. Companies are hiring people, they're laying people off. Sentiment is changing. CEOs are coming and going. They're opening up new opportunities. They're hiring different things, and you can really tell a lot about what's going on in a company by looking at the workforce itself, the workforce dynamics, the job posts. There was a company that used to troll patents and trademarks. So they would see, and then companies were trolling URLs. When someone would set up a new URL, oh, Apple's going into X, Y, and Z. And if you look at people tell a very interesting story about a company, and that's what Bain had set out to do. And we've been growing really nicely ever since I joined. So we track about 24 million companies, public and private, around the world, and sitting on lots and lots and lots of data. We have data scientists, machine learning people, and we help our clients, which range from private equity firms, hedge funds, enterprises, and management consulting firms, look, benchmark, and see what's going on inside of companies from an outside-in perspective.
That's interesting, and as you say, the whole marketing exchange, and clearly I've been around the business world for a few years, and it's incredible with the changes. And when I was doing my research on what you guys do, what I always like about doing this is I'm finding things about industries that I think I know a little bit about, and then seeing so much more. I'm to myself come from the Accenture IBM background as well, so kind of familiar with some of that big large technology consulting more than what you did. So from a structural perspective, so does Bain, are you guys privately held? Are you
Yeah.
your own entity, or you okay? So
Now we're our own entity, but we're owned in bulk by Bain.
okay. Okay, and years wise, it's like two plus years
Yeah,
that
the
you
company's
guys
been
have
around for
been.
a few years, but we spun out of
Hmm.
Bain in May of 24.
Yeah, and no, and so interesting. And so, as far as you said, growing the business and things like that, what do you guys measure? Is that revenue, customer
Both
acquisition?
customers, users, projects. We look at everything. We have a portal, so we have a website that people log into. People log in every day. They do very interesting things with our portal. A lot of things going on. Very interesting.
Hmm. Yeah, no, that's like I said, my passion has always been data and analytics. So when I see it, like it's another phenomenal use case. And I saw some of your posts about the reality postings of the job market, and it it just was very interesting to me because like you mentioned in the post, I've been seeing that on online. So it's very interesting to me, and like I say, as far as the market is concerned, I'm very familiar with this whole consulting the background. So super interesting. Um, oops, there we go. Back again. um, so for you as the CEO, it's like what does a typical day look like for you?
Um, I'm cut from a sales cloth, so I try to spend the bulk of my time doing sales meetings, sales calls, client presentations, partnerships, um, and at the same time, we're managing a good team, a nimble team. So that's probably the bulk of my day.
Mhm. And you're building a product as well that you will be launching as well. I mean, the back end is essentially a product that you sell, right?
Yeah, it's a SaaS product.
Hmm. So no, that's interesting. Yeah, lots of. I myself, I'm a CPA from study, but evolved to sales 20 something years ago, and it's a lot more interesting and exciting. I'm like you. Um, and as far as competitors, I was kind of looking in the market just so that I could get a good sense of it. Where do you guys feel you stack against other players in the market, and maybe the differentiators that you have?
Um, I would say our biggest competitor is really like LinkedIn Talent Intelligence is probably our biggest competitor. Um, and they're reporting only on LinkedIn, and they're one of our data sources. They're a big one, but we use lots of other different data. And so we do a lot of benchmarking. We're really designed for consultants. That's really how we're designed. So the analysts, the consultants, that really is our client. And then we're expanding like very quickly into other use cases, working with enterprises, et cetera.
Oh, interesting. Okay. And so from a business perspective, you guys have been doing this for a while. I mean, I think your evolution is different in the sense that you came from a large entity and you had some of that backing and the ability to leverage some of that. But from a what's been working well for you guys? Maybe you've taken some of the good things from Bain. Maybe you've changed things to make it a little
Yeah. Well,
more
when we
usable or
spun out,
whatever.
yeah, when we spun out of Bain, the only technical person that came with us was really our CTO, and that's it. So we really had to build the entire engineering team from scratch once we spun out. So we really re-architected the entire platform from the ground up, um, and then commercial team, go to market team, all brand new.
Interesting. Okay, and then you get to put your stamp on it, right? As far as which I guess is potentially a good thing, assuming that you can take some of the good that we've all learned something from where we've worked in the past, and you mesh
Right.
it all together. I'm assuming.
Exactly.
Um, and so as far as growth is concerned, now what is what's driving that growth? Where is it coming from? Are you? Is it because you've been in and you got a strong marketing engine or a sales
Yeah,
team or?
we have a really good client engagement team. So, when companies need what we have, we're very good at getting up and running on a trial, and then we have a good team that really shepherds the process through. So
Mhm.
we're experts in workforce analytics. We're experts in our tool set. So we're really providing a lot of service to our clients, and our clients are top name companies. We don't have bad clients that are using our product. So I would say that we're getting them into the store through marketing, and then we're keeping them in the store through a great tool and great support.
That's interesting. Yeah, and I guess the good news is with that is the whole, you can leverage drop some big names to be able to tell other big names that who you're working with. I've seen that
That's right.
massively. Very interesting. And so any I saw you guys announce the whole MCP Claude's AI assistant as a big step forward. Now I'd be
Yeah.
lying if I told you all the technical things that I get the concept of it, but maybe explain a little bit about why that's so relevant to you guys.
Um, so many people come to us simply looking for headcount data and historical headcount data. So is Stripe Salesforce growing or shrinking? What type of salespeople do they have? How long have they been there? What's their attrition looking like? How many who has more lawyers, Robinhood or Coinbase? And again, your typical questions about a company regarding its headcount. And we've now automated all of that through this MCP, which gives today anyone with Anthropic that becomes an Aura customer has direct access to all that information. So you can actually use Claude in a real LLM model to say, hey, take a look at these 5 companies in my portfolio and tell me how they're doing from an organization perspective and how it's changed over the last 5 years. And it's amazing the insight that we can get really, really, really quickly. So before, a tool, an analyst or a consultant had to use our tool to get to that data, and now anybody, with now Anthropic, could actually get access to a specific set of data. We're not doing job postings yet or sentiment data, but like basic headcount data, you'd be surprised how much you can get out of that information.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's the evolution. I was talking to somebody the other day. The evolution. I mean, I wouldn't say since the beginning of last year. I feel like since the beginning of this year, just with even simple things that are so less, the Chat GPT 5.0 and stuff like that, and creating these realistic prompts now. I mean, the amount of the speed at which we can produce anything valuable is just become incredible to me. And
Agreed.
again, being in the market for a few years, and my hair's gone, but it used to be, if I had some, it would be very gray. It's just, but it's so exciting. I feel like it's just, I can't get enough of it. It's just so much out there that is to be understood and to take advantage of that. I think the market is, you know, let's hope in the next few years really accelerates like everybody says it's going to do. But I think there's still a few things that need to be done. But um, it's good insights. And so as far as the and this is now more for people that are, one of the potential audiences and focus audience are going to be people who are looking to start up businesses and things like that. From that perspective, is like, what's the hardest thing that you to run in a business?
I've done a few. I would say, whenever you're starting a company, you run experiments. You're consistently running experiments. Um, you can call them pivots, experiments, whatever you want to call it. And I think eventually you have to actually really understand what you're good at and what you're not good at, and focus on and not get distracted by the things that you're not good at, and just really stay really focused on solving that problem. I think the other thing that's really changed a lot is that earlier on the world would evolve, let's say every in a startup land every 6 months. So you would hire people and say 6 months from now, was that a good hire? You put messaging up on the website and you would say 6 months later, does that really hold water? I think now it's 90 days at best.
Mm.
I think the things are changing so quickly that if you can't really focus on getting your sprints out fast enough, that things are really changing every 90 days. Um,
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
year ago, we were talking about, oh, let's figure out how to export into PowerPoint presentations and doing these things. And now you're like, why would I want to do that? They're tools that I could say, take this data and put it into a PowerPoint presentation. And I think that the growth of those tools, the Gen AI tools, is just happening at such a rapid rate that that focus on what you're good at and let them do everything else. And that really is the genesis of what an MCP is supposed to do. We'll serve up data, but why should we have to create the dashboards and the charts and all the other things? We have the data, we've trained it on how to read our data and understand our data, but now you do it. Hey, is this growing faster than these other companies? How do I understand the overall legal department of this law firm? Break it all up there, et cetera. So I think it's really really fascinating to watch. We're doing experiments now, taking our data and putting in through the LLMs, and it's amazing what it's able to do in such a very short period of time.
Yeah, no, that's fascinating. I think that's a really solid point that you make there too. And then kind of taking that to the next step and is like today. Let's just say you had this magic wand and said, "Look, this is my number one bottleneck that I have right now. Maybe not bottleneck issue, whatever it is. What would you want to fix that?"
I think that the workforce analytics space is still new. I personally think no decision should be made without it. And I think that people have been making decisions so long without having that information that the uptake is taking a little bit of time. But when it happens, we're there ready to go. So I was in the security space when Michelangelo came out. It was a virus, Michelangelo. It shut the whole world down for a couple of days, and it really put antivirus, on the map. Everyone knew about it. No one cared about it until the virus was spread. And I think that workforce analytics, workforce dynamics, as part of an everyday decision, um, I believe, wholeheartedly that it's going to be part of every decision. You're not going to sit in a board meeting and you're going to say, "Gee, I want to hire more salespeople," without the CEO saying, "Well, how do you guys compare to your peers? What's going on there with your peers? Where are they getting their people from? How are we paying the same amount as they're paying? What's our attrition rate relative to their attrition rate?" All those other things. And so it'll happen very, very soon. And I look at some of the things that we post, and it's we saw Intel shutting off a number of its job posts 3 weeks before they did a massive layoff. So I think you're starting to see these things really tie together and connecting the dots. We're not that far from where people are just connecting them on a regular basis.
Yeah, and that, I mean, so again, taking that concept, interesting topic in the sense of, do you think it's because it's a misunderstood, underunderstood? I know that's not a word, but just like people don't see the value of it. Maybe that's the way to position it, right? They think that they can get it by putting a quick search in something and or asking their friends and things like that. Is that
Yeah,
is
I,
that
I
kind of
think that 10 years ago you couldn't do it. 10 years ago no one cared. 5 years ago you couldn't actually get to the data. So it's a it'll take some time. Uh, and like any other data business, there's you get to a certain inflection point where it just makes a lot of sense now. Uh, so that's probably and that's really we're still in those early days there, and our clients are happy. They're using it for due diligence, they're using it for investment tracking, they're using it for client tracking, they're using it for market lead generation. They're doing a lot of interesting use cases for it, and I think it'll become much more prevalent. I think the MCP that we're doing will also allow more and more people to have access to the information to get the insight that they're looking for without going through a portal access and a heavier lift.
makes sense? And earlier you said enterprise type customers and things, is your customer base up and down the stack from small to large? Or
No, we have very few small customers.
is that somewhere like maybe mid range? Is that somewhere you want to go, or just maybe really sticking with the large companies?
Yeah, we'll uh, like I said, I think this MCP will open up the aperture to a lot more companies. Small businesses. A hedge fund could be a small business from a people perspective, but I wouldn't consider them, a mom and pop shop at all. So, um, yeah, but yeah, I think our information is relevant to everybody.
Okay. That's yeah. So I mean, as far as scaling, and maybe that kind of takes us into the next. Kind of I'm looking at discussing your ideal future and what the next. You said questions would be 12 to 18 months. I want to say like maybe we should be looking at 3 to 6 months, right? 3 to 6 months, 6 to 12 months.
Yeah,
What does that
so
look like
look,
for you?
our North Star always was, um, like my North Star always was, a CEO is up in the morning, going for a run, and she gets a text that another one of her engineers just left, took a job someplace else, and she goes, "Hey, Aura, why am I losing engineers?" And Aura says, "Well, you're losing them. 30% went to this company, 20% went to this company, 10% went here, 10% went here. Here's why their sentiment actually went down over the last 3 months. Most of these work for a manager who had been with the company." We have all that data. So that was always my North Star. Now, the crazy part is, when we first started, I thought that was years away. And we're probably months away from being able to do that.
That's exciting.
Right.
That's a
So
bit. I mean,
it's
that's I like
really
it.
it's really amazing to watch that happen.
Yeah,
Now, so our MCP is really at a business level, and we're just about there in terms of being able to really get to that information. It's going to be really amazing to watch it happen.
yeah. No, I mean that's. I mean, I love that concept because I'm a visual person. I love it. The fact that somebody's running and says something and they get that information, and that's the world that we're living in today. That's
That's right.
that's
And so
incredible.
if you have that information, now it's just about exposing that information to the people who need it. And you can get to that information. You can manually go through LinkedIn and look at different people's profile. You could do all those things, or you can have expert phone calls. But if you have the information there, it's just so much easier to actually, just get it all done right when you're right where you are.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And so, and this is not to put you on the spot, and you can say, "Look, But as far as you guys are leveraging AI technologies and things like that for some of your, let's call them regular functions, typical. Are you guys using any for sales, marketing, any types of AI
Yep.
tools in that
Everything,
arena?
everything.
Everything.
Yeah. I everything from delivering work product to our clients to writing up plans and launch plans and marketing plans. If you're not using it today, it's like having an executive assistant that you're not using, right? So why would you do that? And it is part of my everyday. If I'm in a car for more than 20 minutes, 30 minutes, I'll go into audio mode and I'll learn something new. I'll literally ask, I'll put in OpenAI's ChatGPT audio mode, and I'll say, let's learn a new topic today. What's news? And we'll learn something new. But at my desktop, really all the time. I'm a
Yeah, yeah. No, and that's again. I think that's very positive insight, and that's the thing, right? Is everybody's perception of AI is Chat GPT, and you put something in there, and there's so much more to it. But making it, yeah, there was, and then going back to your comment about people getting laid off and things like that. It's we're seeing a lot of this low code, no code development in our industry, and somebody said, I said, there's always still somebody that needs to check the homework, but they need to understand exactly the prompts and all of the other things that come along with it, and be educated enough to take advantage. And then I think the other thing is creating this environment of institutional type of AI leverage, right? Whereas for you guys are using it end to end. I have a customer who's basically said to their people, "We need you to start using AI, and if you don't, you're going to be in trouble. We'll find somebody else who will." But it's like that's literally the comment, and there's no systematic saying, "Look, use this for this, or use that for that, or go and do these things for this." It's just not institutionalized, and I think once we get to that point, I think we're going to see a lot more adoption and even bigger evolution of the business. I don't know how you if you agree or disagree, but yes, yeah, yeah. I appreciate it. No, thank you, thank you. I will. Yes, you too. I will, and I'll send you a copy of this. I think as soon as I say stop recording, it'll hang up. So thank you for your time. Appreciate everything, and I'll send you. Thank you. Bye bye.